Hello, everybody. I'm going to talk to you tonight on my persuasive speech about kind of a hot button topic, which is fat loss or weight loss, is what a lot of people call it. I was a personal trainer for 8 years. I owned my own facility for about 4, and I could easily say this was the number one goal for all of our adult kind of population. And we're going to break this talk down into 2 segments. The first one being the most important, in my opinion, which is the nutritional component. And then the second component will be the exercise component. Now, I know this is obviously kind of a hot button issue, and I know there's lots of information out there on social media and all of that, and I'm going to kind of just give some general baseline rules or kind of a guide, and I'll give y'all 2 things to kind of reference to here at the end that kind of allow some further reading. So kind of starting off here, the first topic is nutrition. Kind of a general rule of thumb is you want to multiply your weight times 10 to 12, and that's going to set your total caloric intake. That's kind of a good moderate pace. A lot of people kind of jump 2 feet in, so to speak. You want to kind of just set a slow, steady pace. So multiply your weight, current weight, times 10 to 12, and that's going to set your total caloric intake. Next, you want to break down the 3 macronutrients, which is your protein, carb, and fat. We're going to kind of break that down into the ratios. You want about 40 to 50% carbohydrate level, about 20 to 25% protein, and about 20% fat. And I know that a lot of people kind of have this fear when they're trying to lose weight, shed fat, whatever, with carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are not the boogeyman. They're not evil. It's how you use them. So a lot of people consume large amounts of carbohydrate intake and they don't do anything to burn it off. As your body ingests those carbohydrates, about 75% of it, as it gets broken down into glycogen, gets stored within the belly of the muscle. The other 25% acts as a reserve and it stays circulating in your bloodstream, which becomes the issue if you're not doing any kind of physical activity. You're not allowing that 25% to re-enter the muscle tissue because the other 75% is getting burned. So what happens is your blood sugar level is going to elevate and that extra is going to convert into fat. So that's why you see most people that are type 2 diabetic, they're generally overweight as well. They tend to go kind of hand in hand. So that's one thing you want to do when you're setting your ratio, especially on the carbohydrates, is mimic it based off of your activity level. Protein is also probably the most important component to that. Protein is important because as you start to shed fat, lose weight, whatever, you have to keep your metabolism elevated. The more muscle tissue you have or lean body tissue you have, the more your metabolism is going to stay elevated. So the more you can consume, the more protein, the less muscle loss you're going to have as you kind of go through this process. So kind of a quick recap with the nutritional component is you want to multiply your weight by 10 to 12. You want to set your carbohydrate intake around 40 to 50%, your protein around 20 to 25%, your fat around 20%. Another critical component to that is make sure you track and log everything that you're eating, at least for the first few weeks. You'd be surprised how much extra kind of junk you're consuming on a daily basis. Another kind of key thing is what I call the 85-15 rule, which is you want about 85% of your diet to come from good, healthy, nutritional resources, and the other 15% can come from junk. So the average American usually eats 24 to 27 meals a week, so you would just take 85% healthy, 15% can be junk. So you're looking at 2 cheat meals typically a week. Now moving on to the exercise component. A lot of people think you have to do cardio hours on end, all of that. That's totally false. The reason for that is research actually is coming out that shows the importance of what's known as EPOC, which stands for excessive post-oxygen consumption. And what that is kind of what they deem the afterburn with your workout. So your body doesn't have to do anything extra to support fat from a metabolic standpoint, fat stored energy. So as you do, 3-4 miles on the treadmill, yeah, your body may be burning more fat because that's the primary fuel source for that. But after the workout, you're not really doing anything. You're not generating any kind of metabolic stress or demand on your body. Whereas with the weights, your body has to go through protein synthesis, resynthesize all the muscle tissue, amino acids, the whole bit with that. So your body's actually about 8 hours or so after your workout with weights is still actually having to process all that information, which is extra calories burned. And kind of how we do that is the men, both worlds of that is what's known as metabolic resistance training, or what some people call circuit training. And pretty much what you want to do with that is you want to keep the workout total body. Kind of a general rule of thumb is you want to alternate between upper and lower body with the exercises. That allows you to kind of recover and not burn yourself out as you're going through the circuit. You want to generally do like 3 to 6 exercises in the circuit at one time. And you want to keep your rep range around 10 to 15 reps, which is kind of a moderate level. You're still challenging enough for your weights, your muscles. You can still, grow some muscle, increase your, metabolism, increase your lean body tissue, but it's also higher enough rep range where you're going to get some calorie burn. In the circuit or metabolic resistance training world, actually kind of brings the cardio component into the weights because of the non-stop pace. Typically, you want to have about 30-second rest periods starting off in between your exercises, and then over time work your way down to what's known as a transitional rest, where you're just kind of moving from one exercise to the next. And then say you're doing a 5-exercise circuit. After that 5th one, you would rest about a minute and a half, and then go right back into it. So that's kind of how you mend the best of both worlds. So to kind of recap on the weight portion, you want to lift total body, alternate upper lower body, keep your rep ranges around the moderate level with the last rep or two being a challenge. You want to start off with about 2 to 4 circuits. And you want to have about 3 to 6 exercises within each circuit. Generally speaking, I'd maybe start off with 1 and then kind of build about 3 or so if your gym permits it. Some people work out in a real busy gym, so I don't know if that would be permitted. So if you can't do that, then just increase the amount of sets that you're going through with that. 2 good resources that you can look into to further your knowledge on this is Lyle McDonald has a website called bodyrecomposition.com. Fantastic website. He puts out a lot of free information, and he's easily probably the #1 fat loss nutrition expert going right now. The second is a book called Strength Training for Fat Loss. It's written by Nick Tumanillo, and he does a really good job of kind of simplifying the science behind the weights and why it's important to still lift weights and do all that kind of stuff. So I thought I would talk to you all about that, since everyone's going to start their New Year's resolution here pretty soon. And thank you very much.